So, Brian and I both attended the Rhode Island School of Design, and that's where we met it was around 1993, I think, right?
No.
Okay.
95.
95?
I was in high school in 1993.
All right. Oh, was it? Because it wasn't my first year there. It was,
No.
All right.
Start over.
My name is Michael DiMartino, and I am one of the creators and co-executive producers of Avatar, The Last Airbender.
My name is Brian Knitzko, the co-creator of Avatar and the art director. We had worked together since school and out in LA for a couple of years. And we come at things from like a very different point of view, but I don't know, there's something, I feel like we always made a good team.
My goal was to always create a show and run a show and that sort of thing. And then Brian had similar goals, so the time was right, and we sort of said, hey, let's work together and come up with something great.
March 2002, I emailed Eric Coleman, the head of development at Nickelodeon, and said, my friend and I are working on a show, we'd love to pitch it.
I remember going out to a lunch with Brian and just saying we're looking to develop shows kind of in the vein of just legends, lore, deep mythology. So we talked about the ingredients that should be in this pitch that hopefully he was going to develop.
He said, kid POV. Keep that in mind. It's like, whether it's a kid character as your main hero or a non-human character that kids can relate to, like SpongeBob or something. I told Eric, look, we'll come back in a month. I don't know what we're gonna pitch, but we'll pitch it.
The next Peabody Award goes to Avatar, The Last Airbender. This is really cool. This is crazy. We're deeply humbled and grateful to accept this award for Avatar. Thank you to the Peabody Award.
My recollection of the story is that we had kind of like spread out all our ideas on the table, like sketches or just concept ideas of what kind of series we would want to do. But one of the drawings was something Brian had done, and there was like this little robot monkey dude.
He was this little Cyclops robot monkey who had an arrow on his head, and he had like a futuristic...
Oh, he had the arrow.
He had a futuristic staff. And then there was this bipedal polar bear who had like a kind of sci-fi like gear bag over his shoulder, and this like bald kid.
Did he have the arrow on his head?
Nope.
He did? Okay, he did not have the arrow on his head at that point.
I took the arrow from the monkey and put it on the guy's head, and that was Aang. That was the first drawing of Aang. It's one of these things, like, I wasn't thinking of Mike, but I mean, it's such a perfectly, like, I mean, the shape of that head, if you saw my head, it's like a Klingon. I mean, I have like this ridge, you know. Mike, this is an aesthetically pleasing shape. But I liked the drawing. I didn't know what it was, but there was something interesting about it. It then meshed with these ideas that Mike had about all this stuff in the South Pole.
I had been watching documentaries about Shackleton's crazy Antarctic expedition and ship getting caught in the ice and all these guys surviving against all odds.
Wait, so you're looking at a drawing of a little kid with an arrow in his head, and you're like, I got it, Shackleton.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
how
Shackleton was going on.
Yeah, that wasn't about that drawing specifically, but it was like...
Yoga is when I put that together.
That was when it all came together.
It was pretty late at night. I was in Bikram yoga. I was drenched in sweat. I thought of combining his Shackleton idea with this kid. I had to tell Mike this idea.
Calls me on the phone and says, I got this crazy idea.
We didn't have cell phones back then, you know.
Wait.
Well, how did you call me?
I didn't call you. I showed up.
Oh, you just showed up. You didn't warn me.
I didn't call.
Okay,
I didn't have a phone.
He came over and pitched this idea of a fire people attacking a water tribe. That was kind of like a big moment where like the idea of the four nations sort of gelled together.
The little robot monkey evolved into Momo. The big polar bear thing evolved into Appa. We hashed out, a huge part of the whole world and the story arc. And 2 weeks later, we pitched it.
When you work in development, you're kind of very used to taking a lot of pitches that are not very exciting or not very enthralling.
You basically have, people say like 7 minutes to get your whole idea across.
My take was that we broke every possible rule.
They went on, and they started to get so into the details of it.
It was this onslaught of like words and art to Eric. And then bending, and Fire Lord, and this.
It was like 2-3 hours long.
And they do this, and fire comes out. And then in season 3, they're invading, and he's like, stop
talking. Kind of like, I'm already in. This is fantastic.
Maybe that's a good lesson. Like, we just spoke from our heart, and we're passionate about the idea and the world and the characters.
But we need to sort of slow down. We need to make a deal, put this into development, and then produce a pilot.
We hadn't been like fully picked up yet. You got to make a pilot, like a short 11-minute thing that they're going to test for kids.
I went and had an apartment in Korea for about 3 months. Worked alongside the artist there, and Mike came over for a few weeks. And it was an intense time. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Really the biggest challenge was just how to live up to this incredible vision for the show they had.
2003년에 그러니까 아바타 파일럿 영상 제작할 때, 그러니까 몇 년이야? 5년 전이구나. 5년 전에 내 첫인상은 그랬어요. 그러니까 이 아바타라는 그 캐릭터를 딱 봤을 때는 이게 될까라는.
분야에 따라서 이제 어투가 달라지고 이런 거에 대한 상황을 잘 파악을 못했기 때문에.
There were some lonely times living in Korea for months. Just cut off from friends and family, just getting up, getting into the studio at 7 in the morning, working till 10 at night. There were times when no one in the world cared about Avatar except us. And we were just carrying this whole thing, trying to drag it into reality and trying to show the people what it could be.
One of the tricky elements was how to have action without violence. And they came back with firebending, waterbending, airbending, earthbending. It was just such a great way to be able to fight without it feeling inappropriate for a kids show.
We finished the pilot and we turned it over to Nickelodeon.
The intention of a pilot is to get enough people to buy in and say, okay, we're on board. The stakes get higher. So you have focus group testing with kids. The response was pretty great.
Eric said, oh no, it tested really good. Everyone really liked it. And we heard that we got picked up for 13 episodes. Our friend and future writer Josh Hamilton was there, and his reaction was, get out of town. I think he even clapped and everything. We just got to Providence, Rhode Island, where Brian and I met. 1992.
No, 1995.
The illustration department's happy to welcome today Mike DiMartino of class of 96 in FAV and Brian Konietzko, class of 98. Brian and Mike.
Coming, everybody.
Season 1 was by far the hardest.
This is where things exponentially expanded. The pilot was a small crew, but now to do a whole, the first pickup was for 13 episodes, and it was to do that many episodes in the same amount of time we did this 12-minute pilot is like, oh my God, we needed like all these people. It's crazy.
My name is Joaquin Dos Santos.
Katie Mattila.
My name is Tim Hedrick, and I was a writer on Avatar.
We kind of handpicked the people that we had worked with and really loved their attitude.
My name is Benjamin Wynn.
I'm Josh Hamilton.
My name is Jeremy Zuckerman. I did the music for Avatar.
And we wanted to kind of assemble what we thought was like the crack squad of great people.
I'm Sifu Manuel Rodriguez.
John O'Brien.
Angela Miller.
Maybe a little hard to pronounce, but Sung Hyun. Oh, you can't call me Sung.
I'm Giancarlo Volpe.
Andrea Romano.
Sifu Kisu. I was the martial art consultant.
A huge component, obviously, of making